Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra Unit 8A Practice Test. Remember that calculators are allowed to show all of your work and to write your answers on the line. So let's go ahead and get started. Oop, did I get my pen? Come on. There we go. All right, so number 1 and 2, it says to identify the vertex, the axis of symmetry, the y-intercept, x-intercept, and solutions of the following parabola. Whoop. So let's go ahead. We'll do 1 together, and then I want you guys to do 2 on your own. So remember that the vertex is either the lowest or the highest point in your graph. And so my vertex here would be -3, 0. Now the axis of symmetry is that imaginary line that goes straight through the x value of your vertex. And so for here, my x-intercept is -3. All right, our y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis right here. Okay, so when we're looking at it, it crosses there, and that is the point 0, 6. And the last one's the solutions. Okay, solution is another way for like the x-intercept to think about that. So my x-intercept, well, I can see it only crosses the x-axis once, or touches the x-axis once. And when we're writing this, we would say that x equals, in this case, x equals -3. Okay? Now, these are not always going to match up. Okay? It just worked out in this case. All right? Number 2. I want you to do number 2 on your own. Go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. Okay, so going through this, our vertex is the point 1, -2. The axis of symmetry is x equals 1. The y-intercept is 0, -2.5. It's in between the -2 and -3. And the solutions, remember, we're looking to see, does it cross the y or the x-axis? And since it doesn't, that's why we write none. All right. Next, graph each quadratic equation by using a table of values and identify the specified parts. So, looking at number 1, sorry, that should be number 3. The first thing that I notice is that my A is 2, my B is 4, and C is -2. This is telling me that it's in standard form. Okay, so I need to use x equals the opposite of b over 2a to find my vertex. All right, so the opposite of b, so that means x equals the opposite of b, so -4 over 2 times 2. Well, -4 stays on the top, 2 times 2 is 4, and -4 divided by 4 is -1. So that tells me that that point is -1, and then I need to go 2 numbers below and 2 numbers above. Now, for the rest of this, I'm going to go into y equals, clear out my old equation, and I am going to write it in. So I have 2x squared plus 4x minus 2. I want to look at my table, and I need to make sure that I'm looking at the right numbers. Okay, so my vertex is at -1, -1, 4, and then I can see all of the other points that I need to right here. Okay, so at -1, I'm at -4. And then we've got -2 and 4. So -2 and 4. -2 and 4. And just remember which ones line up and will match, okay, if you did it correctly. So my vertex is what drives the graph. So I'm going to graph that first. And I like to have my axis of symmetry in here, just so it's easier for me to graph, okay? So there's my first point, and I'm going to go to 0, or I'm sorry, -2, -2, and 0, -2. And then at -3, I'm at +4, and then at 1, I'm at +4. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and graph this. Okay, sorry that mine made a little jump right here. Try to make this as smooth as possible. And now let's go through and label everything. So our vertex, well, we know what the vertex is. That's the point -1, -4. The axis of symmetry goes through the x-axis, or the x point, so it's -1. We can see the y-intercept here. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, and that's one of our points, which is 0, -2. And for the y, or the x-intercept, remember, it's where it crosses the x-axis. So I'm going to say that that's at the point -2.5, comma 0, and 0.5, comma 0. And remember, if we're guesstimating, if we're just kind of, we're not 100% sure, put the squiggly marks, okay? All right. So that one was number 3. This one's going to be number 4. Now, the thing I like about this one right away is that it's in, yeah, it's in standard form. Or not standard form, Mr. Grice, it's in vertex form. So right away, I know that my vertex is the opposite, and this stays the same. So -2, comma -2. And that'll help me with the rest of these points. -3, -4, -1, and 0. Okay, so let's see if you can do the rest of this on your own, okay? I would go into your calculator, go into y equals, and then type it all in. Now, remember that first point, or the first number, is not a subtraction sign, it's a negative, okay? There is a difference between how those two look. You can see it on my screen right there. You need to be using a negative, okay? Go ahead and pause the video. Good luck. Okay, and there we go. Got -4, -6, -3, -3, and then -1, -3, and 0, -6. My vertex is -2, 2. Axis of symmetry is x equals -2. Our y-intercept is 0, -6. And since it doesn't cross the x-axis right here, yeah, there's no x-intercepts. All right, next one. So it says determine which of the following functions have one real solution. Select all that apply. So that means there's going to be more than one. All right, so one solution. Let's look at A. Well, A, it crosses once, twice. So this is 2 solutions, okay? I don't want that one. B is an example of, yeah, does it ever cross right here? No, so this is no solution. And C, oh, there it is. It crosses once, so woohoo! So I know that C is one of them, but there could be more. So pause the video or just go through these real quick and see if you can figure out the other one or two. Which ones do you think? Well, D, yep, there it is. So there's one. So I know that D's in there. E, it crosses twice, so it's not D, or E, I mean. And then F, there's our axis, our x-axis right there. And does it cross? Nope. So our answers are C and D. All right, 6. Graph the parabola that fits the description if possible. So I need it to open up. The vertex is at 3, -2, and that it has 2 solutions. So remember, our vertex drives the graph. So I go to 3, -2. I need to have it going up. And it needs to have 2 solutions, which means it needs to cross the x-axis twice. So this one is possible. All right, let's look at our next one. The vertex drives the graph. So at -4, -3, that's where I'm at. It needs to go down and have 1 solution. Is that possible? It never comes up here and touches, so this is not possible. Okay, number 7 says to rewrite the equation into vertex form by completing the square. Okay, so that's the first thing we have to do. Then identify the vertex and the graph that corresponds with the equation. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is complete the square. So as we're doing that, I'm just going to move it over here. We have to do x squared minus 10x. And then I move that plus 19 over a bit because I'm going to be adding something and then I'm going to be subtracting something. Well, what do we have to add and subtract? Well, this is where we do b divided by 2 squared. Well, what's b? Oh, we forgot to label everything. A is 1, b is -10, and c is 19. So -10 divided by 2 squared. -10 divided by 2 is -5. And -5 times -5 is 25. So that's where we would add 25 and subtract 25. Well, the next step is I get to factor that part. So I want to know what numbers multiply to get to 25 and add to get to -10. Well, yeah, it's going to be something to do the 5 and 5 or, well, look at the bottom. 5 plus 5 is at -10. So it's got to be -10 and then that works. So since that works for both, I know that it's going to be x plus 5 times x plus 5. And then 19 minus 25 is -6. So then we go y equals x plus 5 squared minus 6. And now I am in vertex form. Okay? So our vertex is, or vertex form, y equals x plus 5 squared minus 6. Our vertex, remember that we take the opposite of what's inside, and then the rest stays the same. And now we have to match the graph. Now, there's a couple different ways we can eliminate these. What I want to do is I'm going to look outside and decide if my graph needs to go up or down. Okay, and it tells me that my graph needs to be going up. Is A going up? Nope, A is down. So I know right away it's not A. B's going up, okay. C's going up, good. And D is going down. All right, so I can get rid of A and D. Now I need to look at my vertex. All right, my vertex is, oh, I'm sorry, guys. Did you guys yell at me yet? I'm just noticing something. Those were supposed to be -5s. I said -5 over here, and then I kept writing +5. Oh my gosh, Mr. Grice, you're crazy. Whoops. Okay, yeah, those should have been -5s. Hopefully you did it right and you were yelling at me through the video. Okay, so now that I know that's -5, this is supposed to be the opposite, which is a +5. And that's going to be which one? 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm looking at B. There's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the point. 5, -6. So B is my correct answer. This would have been our other vertex, which would have been -5, -6. But not what we wanted. Okay. All right, and then the last one, number 8. At the Superstars assembly, maybe I'm talking about the future, about what's going to happen. Mr. Grice was making it rain with his half-court shot. However, one of his shots missed and was an air ball, and it landed on the ground. Wah, wah. So, let X represent the time that passed since the ball was shot in seconds, and then Y is going to represent the height of the ball from the ground in feet. Okay, so first thing, let's go down and take care of all of our labeling. We know that this is going to be time in seconds. And our Y, they said that that's going to be the height in feet. Now, if you need to go through and start labeling everything, so it's 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, you can do that. I'm going to just label every other one down here because it's a little bit more crushed for space. There's 5, there's 7, and there's 9. Okay? So, first question. What is the maximum height of the basketball? Well, we're just going to look for the highest point. There it is. Look over here. How high is that? Yeah, that's 16 feet. At what time does it reach its maximum height? Well, that's where I'm going to go kind of come down here, and it's in between 0.4 and 0.5. So I'd say that's around 0.45 seconds. Okay, and the last one, what time does it hit the ground? Well, here I am, I shot the ball, goes up, and then around what time is that? Yeah, I'd say that's right around 1 second. Okay? All right, guys, and that's it. Now, your test, Unit A test, is very similar to this. Okay? So if you have any questions, please come see Ms. Carranza or myself. We would love to help you out. Otherwise, this is Mr. Grice signing off. Thanks for watching.